and I'm bringing Jen back and Carrie for our Q&A session. Hi, guys.
Hey.
First of all, I would like to thank you again for your great presentation. All of your presentations were really good. Not good, but great, with all those memes, with all those jokes, Gent. Like,
I'm like, I wonder if you guys caught some of my puns, because like,
Yeah.
Key takeaways.
You had a really good set of memes. I love the memes in your presentation.
Thanks.
It's good. I am a sucker for animated GIFs and memes. You can, just like any talk that you can add, if the more of that, the better.
Well, I know like security and security teams can talk down to devs, so I wanted to make something a little bit more relaxed and more knowledge share.
Yeah.
Memes would like be like, I'm not telling you, I'm more like advising you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
that's good.
And I'm your friend, not your.
I'm not telling you how bad your passwords are. I'm telling you how to improve them.
But anyway, you know how to drag the attention properly to presentation. So
Sweet.
let's start from the beginning. We have some question on Pine platform. The first one is to Carrie. So here it is. What if I wanted to go from software to hardware? What would I do?
Well, software and hardware are way different things. And I know I did a big pivot by going to like web to security, but there was something in between that connected, and that was web security. So for you, I would say you could either find something in between to pivot or just dive right in, like go to hardware stores and buy things and play with it, or just figure things out. Because there's a lot of places that do donations or just drop out like old machinery. So those are my suggestions.
Great. The next question would be to you, Gent.
All right.
But if ML runs on browser, won't it consume client CPU memory? And won't it create issues if client has subpar system?
So one of the cool things about TensorFlow JS is that it actually accesses your GPU as a backend through WebGL. What? So if you have a GPU, boom, it's hitting the GPU. Now, let's say you don't have a GPU. They actually also support in TensorFlow JS WebAssembly. So you can actually get pretty close to GPU speeds by switching the backend to WebAssembly. And then like if your users are going to be on mobile devices or something that's a little bit more optimized for WebAssembly, you can actually get a pretty awesome project. Now, just like everything, when you're on the cutting edge, you're going to bleed. So one thing that might happen is I'll say that, yeah, I have started developing while my laptop was at 100% battery. And then an hour later, through some kind of memory management, my laptop's screaming at me to plug it in. So I will say, yes, you can feel the pain of these things if you're using too much. And I can't help myself. I have like fading gradients in the background and glowing text. So my GPU absolutely saps my battery. Be a little bit careful. But I think it hurts the developers more than it hurts the people, because I've seen some pretty amazing performance with WebAssembly. And I think as it starts to really approach the GPU stuff, it'll be really good, especially for inference.
Thank you. And
You got
the
it.
next question is also for you.
Yeah.
It sounds like, yeah, you got a lot of them. Yeah.
I've been writing myself questions is what's happened here. I just during during other
Uh, you can actually. You can,
What, I should do
uh,
that.
because you have more time to tell about your topic. If you had not like if you had a small slot for the information, you can use Q&A session just to continue your speech.
Oh, I did not know that. I was afraid I was going to go over and like interrupt everyone else's time. So I
No,
left things out.
it's okay if you really have um, some information remained, and if you want to share it, you can do it like just right now. Like you're really allowed to do it, and I think that our viewers would be extremely glad to hear like more of important and interesting information. Like they are here for it. So.
Well, one thing I can mention was I didn't talk about the keys, like the symmetry, like such like having the symmetry and asymmetrically. I had it on my slides, but in the interest of time, I kind of like glossed it over.
Mhm.
So symmetry, they have two keys, a private and public key, and you're most used to that like doing SSH like keys for GitHub. So, and I know GitHub is like changing their like they're getting rid of passwords, I heard. So it's gonna be like you need to learn how to use that and learn to use it effectively. Symmetric is you have one key and they share that key, and that's the main difference between those. Things I left out, like the whole thing where I felt like it would have been too much for a 101 was like JSON web tokens because those are kind of like tricky to like configure correctly
Yeah.
at times. Session hijacking and then cookies management and also cross forgery. If I had to say anything about that, was like have a token and use it. So those are like my other key things that I kind of like swept away at the time. But yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. And the next question is, how is TensorFlow compared to machine learning libraries in Python? This is for you, Gant.
Oh, yeah. So, by the way, I know Milecia, you have some experience in this stuff. So, feel free to weigh in because we were on a podcast together recently. It was a lot of fun. So, but I'll start that off with, you know, Python is the data science language. And it's been like papers are published in it. Everything's kind of there. So I'll say that like it's performant wise and its capabilities and all the information there, you gotta still know Python. It's amazing. However, I will say that JavaScript being birthed recently into TensorFlow JS, having GPU access, going out in places Python can't even follow, if seeing it catch up and start to pass up. For instance, Node is faster than Python because it's like C++, like is the backend for it. So actually, if you trained in Node, you might be able to actually train faster than you could in Python. I actually think you might be able to. And additionally, I'll say one other piece of that is the libraries are coming. So cool libraries like Pandas didn't exist over in JavaScript world, but then they made Danfo.js and they're doing other cool things like that. So if you have your choice, it depends on like if you're doing front end or like back end stuff. I would say whether you want to use Python or TensorFlow JS, TensorFlow or TensorFlow JS or Python or PyTorch or whatever it is that you want to prefer to use. So yeah, I would say like depends on what your end product looks like. Make the smart decision, but they're pretty fast.
I'll kind of chime in on that one because, sorry, Gant, I don't like TensorFlow JS.
Okay, that's total. You know what? What's your preference? Do you like Brain.js?
This is another just JavaScript machine learning library, and if you can work with arrays of objects, you can pretty much do machine learning.
With Brain?
Yep.
Brain is amazing. It's GPU accelerated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not backed by a major company, so that's good or bad, depends. It actually has some serious optimization. It's care taken by Robert Plummer, but it hits a wall because it currently doesn't support convolutional neural networks. So wouldn't have been something I could have used for this. But I think Brain, yeah, and it's got free tutorials left and right. The truth is this: there's a team of people, and IBM and Intel and a bunch of other and Alibaba who need some of the major features. So there's large corporate sponsorship behind TensorFlow JS. But if you're getting started, I agree. I think Brain is amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
I love that library.
Wow. I'm just like learning so much because like I used to be in the Anaconda world, like when I first started out. So like the big thing for me was like when D3.js came out for data visualization, and I was like, what? I don't have to do like some shifty stuff anymore. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and the Python stuff so data scientist centric. It's kind of nice in some ways, and then you create a product and you get frustrated because there's no easy path forward from that. I like to call these as two separate islands, and we're all building bridges, figuring out how to do it.
So the third question is how we contribute to the open source.
For which project?
This is for you also.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you the link right now.
Talk a lot this evening.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm sorry. The link is my GitHub/enjoy the show. This before I bought the domain. So let me put that in the public chat or share it with you. Actually, I'll put it on Twitter. Look, marketing, right? High five. High five. I'm a developer who learned how to market. Go find it on Twitter. I'm going to post it right now. Yeah, follow me.
Think about it.
Yeah.
And the first question is also to you. So API are running in server in any language or framework like TensorFlow and Python, while data is feeding continuously from DOM server.
Okay.
This is a long question.
I wish I could read it. Yeah.
Repeat it, or you can read it by yourself at this question section in YouTube.
Oh, I need to.
Yep.
I have so many windows open. I didn't open YouTube. Look at that. So it's
so API are running in server in any language or framework like TensorFlow and Python, while data is feeding continuously from DOM server.
Okay. And just to go back to a high-level overview, maybe this helps out. The TensorFlow was running in the browser, and the client-server architecture was all on client. As a matter of fact, none of the model was on the server. The server actually was ignorant of anything from AI. It was receiving strings, array strings, and it was processing and handling that. Your machine was processing the TensorFlow JS, was doing all the process and just shipping strings, which I know Carrie was having a heart attack because that seems like I'm getting all kinds of data and it's not secure. But I promise you, it was very secure. I didn't get anybody's faces or any of their facial dimensions or recognition stuff. And you can actually watch through some of the tools that we were talking about before. You can watch what's going over the network. It's doing all the inference locally, and it's going to the server. And the server I wrote also in JavaScript. In fact, I did all of that entire project in JavaScript for us.
So I'm looking for another question.
I see.
They are.
I see one from Milecia actually over here. If you click on comments, Milecia, and look in the middle, it says, "Should we start performance testing of React app after each page build, or at the end of the entire development, and why?"
Where is that? I see it.
Yeah. There's 3 different places where we can have information. I kind of enjoying this. This is fun.
I would say it would probably it would probably be better to wait until the end of the entire development, just because when you benchmark specific components, it doesn't give you an accurate view of how they all work together. So that's, I don't know, that's kind of my reasoning behind it, but it definitely doesn't hurt to check performance after each build.
So the next question is, can you specify any recommendation for Kasha management in React? Maybe I pronounce it not correctly. Cache or Kasha?
Cache.
Cache.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm here. I'm ready for this question.
So,
Not bad.
but as far as cache management, honestly, if you use Google's Workbox, I think that's probably about as good as it gets. A lot of it is just trial and error, making sure that you're caching the right values, that things get refreshed, that you're using the right methods. So for caching, it's a tricky thing. It really is just trial and error with those Workbox methods.
And the 5th question is, where can I find that source code if I want to refer it?
I'll have that on my GitHub, which I will post on Twitter. So if you want to find,
You're following that.
go check me out on Flipped Coding at Twitter. On Twitter at Flipped Coding.
Okay, and Milecia, the next question is to you. What would be a good app project to start with, and what are the best tools to test it and deploy it?
So I guess that's just whatever project in general. So maybe a good app to start with that's not just a to-do list would be something like, I don't know, make a scrapbook. People like scrapbooks. It's something you can share with your family and show them how smart you are. But something that you could test it with, this is one that would really, really benefit from some performance because of all the images you'll be using. But probably just the ones that I mentioned earlier. Those cover just about everything with React. And as far as deploying it, gotta do another plug. You should use Conducto for your CI/CD pipeline, but I don't know. I like Netlify or Heroku for just little quick apps. They're super fast to get going with.
And Carrie, we have a question for you. What would be an easy approach to web security for a small business website? What can we do to start implementing security measures in our small projects?
Well, it depends on security needs of that small company. It depends. Are they doing a lot of processing for money transactions that are not through a vendor? Do they need to get something like OAuth? A lot of the things they can do is get it offloaded to someone else while they're still building. And so I know for most startups, they start out small and they have development teams, but they usually don't have a security person or a person that's focused on security. So if they can bring somebody from the outside as a vendor or just a person to consult with, that would I think that would help most small startups.
Mm-hmm. And what is the learning curve for? Yeah, this is for you, Gant. What is the learning curve for TensorFlow is compared to Brain.js? This is for both Gant, this is for both Gant and Milecia. Are there ethical concerns with both libraries as well?
Ooh, I like to just jump in on that one.
You got it.
Ethical concerns, maybe it's a slight jab at Google, but I mean, they did take the "don't be evil" thing out, so there's that. But no, it's actually fine. I don't think there's really any ethical concerns with either. Do you get?
I'll say that what I think is really important is that this needs, like, machine learning needs to be given to developers. It needs to be democratized. And I was pretty frustrated that only a few companies had this stuff. I'm pretty proud of what Google's been doing in training people, building special interest groups, giving things away, and stuff like that. So I'm kind of happy that at least these groups, their Google Brain team, has been phenomenal. They're hiring developer advocates. I feel like they're listening to people and they care about the ethical concerns. Now, that's how I feel. And there are definitely some aspects, and Google's so big, right? There's some sides of it where you might have some issue. But the people I've met who are running TensorFlow and the TensorFlow JS team are extremely, extremely nice. And they're doing their best they can to ramp you up. I'd say that don't pick one at all. Learn Brain. There's a free course by Robert Plummer that he did, and I could send that link to you. And just message me. He taught an entire course on that. Learn that one, and then go learn TensorFlow, and then find out which one fits your project, makes you happy. So I'd say I would agree. I would throw away the ethical concerns on TensorFlow JS for now as the group that's there. Now, AI always has ethical concerns, but for picking one, I say learn them both. You'll probably get a bunch out of one course or find one flavor or another, and you'll be so happy because you'll be in all the cool stuff.
And the next question is, hi, I'm getting into Microsoft Azure.
Hi.
Are you familiar with Docker? Because I think I've seen Milecia with the Docker in Visual Studio.
Yeah, I run Docker. It just makes it really easy when I'm switching computers, because sometimes I work on Windows, sometimes I'm on Mac, Linux, and if you've tried to set up the same project on those different OSs, it's just a pain. Like, there's no good comments I can say about that. But with Docker, you don't have to worry about all of that. You just get your image, you build a container, and you have this magic application. So, I was definitely using Docker.
The way Docker was born, by the way, is that a developer said, "Hey, it works on my machine," and then they said, "Okay, we'll just ship your machine," and that's what happened.
Okay, I thought that was gonna go way, way worse than that. And you find out, like, his machine is the only one, and then it breaks, and then you're like, I wish we had his machine again.
Yeah, that would be the 2020 story. I probably messed it.
That sounds right for this year.
Yeah.
And the last question is, what are the tricky part about JSON web tokens?
Mm.
That is a good one.
Oh, I know you guys can chime in on this one because like everybody has their thing, but it's like there's one point where authentication was a thing, and you would set it to no types, and then it would reset itself somehow, and it would let things through. And I was like, when I saw that, I was just like, no, like. I set it for none and I got something and it's not what I wanted. And it goes against like whitelisting and blacklisting. So at one point, web tokens had that. I don't know what they have recently, but you guys can chime in because you're using web more than I am right now. So what have you guys seen that's the most difficult part of like nailing down web tokens?
I can say that I went ahead and built this. I got so done with Amplify uses JWT for the Cognito, so I did a login app, and everything was all set. Like, yeah, everything's set, and then I had another person come in to help out, and what was really funny is they didn't understand how web tokens worked. So what they wound up doing is getting me access for 1 hour at a time, and then it would get the person like logged out, and I had to like go back and explain to them. Like it kind of gives you a couple of foot guns, along with it, because you have to really get into it. You have to think security, and I think pretty much your whole talk is like sometimes developers just don't. In a few ways. You have to learn all these concepts before it actually clicks. And I think that one of the things that happens with the JWT is that it's cool when Amplify wraps all the services, but as soon as you have to do one thing unique or you have to get in there, you have to like sit people down and make sure that they didn't just make a security vulnerability or some kind of user problem with JWT, which is what happened.
They're hard to configure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my complaint too. Is like sometimes there's just so much information in them that we don't actually need on the front end. And yeah, I've seen that lead to some weird session stuff. It's like, why is this just not working?
Yeah.
Guys, you're so great. And I'm reading all these comments, all these questions. You got so many compliments. Everyone, they are writing so many things to you. And for example, Shobit Ratan wrote things, Gant and Milecia. That was very informative. I recently graduated from college with a degree in MS in data analytics and software engineering immersive program in Flatiron. I like both. And I remember that when you, Jen, was presenting your speech, your presentation, I remember one great comment that your presentation was a gem of a conference.
I really
seriously.
It means so much to connect with y'all, and I want to say, thank you for hosting this conference. By the way, I know it's just you, Anna. You're the only person who ran this whole thing. You're getting all the credit. But during a pandemic, I don't get to see people. Like, what? It was you and a Red Bull? Okay, good.
This is helping me to help this conference, because actually this is 8:40 a.m.
Yeah.
If I'm pronouncing not so well some words, please sorry me. Understand me.
I mean, it's totally. This is great. I really miss this. I love that I made some new friends today. I've got some new people who are going to be chatting with me on Twitter, and I love that I've run into Milecia before, and then we're going to keep talking to one another. And I know one of the talks that you're going to be having soon. I want to go see all this stuff, and then like I don't leave my house anymore. There's a pandemic out there, so I'm really happy to spend this time and get this. I get to see people again for the first time.
True. It has been so weird not going to conferences this year.
No,
I miss people.
I'm
know.
introverted. I don't come off it. Yeah.
Oh, guys, we have two last questions. Shobit Ratan is asking you, I implemented GWT in backend for Rails and Django and transferred the token into local storage after authentication. Yeah, I did it. Is it a good approach?
I'm like, it depends. I'm like, where is local storage for you? Is it? I'm trying to figure out right now in my mind if it's local storage in your computer or their computer, because it also depends on the trail. So how I'm thinking of it is similar to a pen tester. So you have the browser, you're off, you have your key, your token, and it moved off of the session. Now it's in your local storage. Does it get removed from your local storage? Does it just stay there forever? Like, I have so many follow-up questions to that to like actually answer this like successfully, and I do not want to lead you down a wrong path. So I would rather you like contact me after this and like where is what is happening? Because like I do not want to steer you wrong.
Mm-hmm. And the next question is question for everyone. If you look back to your career, what advice would you give to junior devs starting in 2020?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be trying not to get swamped with learning everything at the same time. Like, it's okay if you just do back end in Node to get started, or if you want to do front end, of course, React. But try not to get into that mindset where you have to learn every tool out there, because you literally cannot learn all of them. They make new ones every day.
Yeah, I want to plus one on that and say it in an interesting way that I wish I had heard as younger. Is that the technology we all know today ages terribly. All my tech books age terribly. Being the best at one thing in tech is both the blessing and a curse. It ages terribly. What you should learn, two things. One, concepts, because concepts stay, concepts persist. And two, people. Work on your communication with people, work on where people need extra help, because people don't change. I wish that we kind of worked on our communication with everything, keep the humanity in it. Because what you learned 20 years ago about people will help you communicate and build better products, forever. So concepts and people are the real goal. Being excellent at knowing a book backward and forward, not having to Google something is honestly useless.
Yeah, so to piggyback on that, everyone uses Google.
Yeah,
that's why it's there. Even seniors use Google. Everyone uses Google, so that's a thing. For me, I would say community has been big. So like we're so far apart now. Like we have to go out of our way to network with people now. Like
Mhm.
this, this was weird for me because like I'm used to seeing and hearing people and like feeding off a crowd when I give a talk. So, but getting out of your comfort zone to do something for me, I got out of my comfort zone and got into security because I got tired of having like security incidences happen and like I don't know I don't know when it's happening. So it's interrupting my personal life more than just being on pager duty. And also it's something just to learn. And sometimes you have to be open that even if you start in one place, you might end up in another and be open to that journey if it happens to you.
Yeah.
And the very last question is to Gant
Mhm.
and Milecia. Gant, what is your biggest project for JavaScript?
Ooh, biggest, I guess anything that has node modules installed. That would be huge.
Oh, that brings me
Oh
back.
gosh, that was awful, but it was so good.
It's so accurate. That's a real hard question to kind of get to. Biggest in a lot of ways could mean so many different things. I will. Yeah, I'll say that.
Okay, the greatest that
The
you are proud
greatest.
of.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that
it.
you are proud of.
All right, I got it. I made a website that can tell if someone is or is not Nicolas Cage. It is very
Yes.
important. It's
Mhm.
obviously very useful and probably the biggest and best thing ever. Because you need to know whether or not Nicolas Cage is in a photo or not. And so I made a mobile app for it. I made a declaration of independence thief.com. And then when I submitted the app to the App Store, they actually kept rejecting it, saying this isn't useful. And then I told them, I actually sent them a picture of the Apple logo and I said that they're affiliated with the Illuminati. And then they let the app into the App Store. So I don't know why that worked, but if you go to nickornot.com, you have probably the most, my greatest, my raison d'etre, if you will, is set there. So yeah, go to nickornot.com. Very useful.
He
So,
is supposed to be the new Tiger King.
Oh, that's right. What is Nick doing with his life?
I'm like, did you guys see my Tiger King joke I had?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to be relevant with the times.
It worked.
guys, you are awesome, and it's so nice to see you like in this good mood with such great vibes. And I think that you will get like good well with each other. And
Mhm.
please don't forget to post all those information that was asked previously on your Twitter, as you have already mentioned. So thank you very much for this like time. That was like I've got so much fun, and I'm sure that our viewers got lots of important and interesting information from you, and you can be sure by reading all these compliments. So, guys,
Awesome.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
Good seeing
thank
you.
you.
Bye.